That's the thing is when I talk to people at racing, they're like, "Oh man, racing's so hard and training and this," and I laugh. I say, I said, "No, you know what's good? You know what's hard is when you have to stop. That's what's hard is when you have to stop. It's not the sport you're doing, it's not the activity you're doing because that's an outlet. It's an outlet. You can outlet, you can cover things up, and that's where I think a lot of people have problems when they're done racing is all this stuff starts to bubble up because we've always had like a band-aid to put over anything that was, a struggle or a confusion or a challenge or whatever, because we had something to challenge ourselves, something to kind of put it out there. But when that's gone, you have to look in the mirror and go, well, who am I? And that's the same thing with a Brownie. So, with Mike, I just one day, we were competitors. We fought this and that. We've been chummy lately and friends and stuff like that. We never had any hang-ons. I don't have any grudges against anybody. I don't know how to hold a grudge. Um, but one day I'm like, hey, I need to go see Brownie for some reason, my intuition. So Janelle, the woman I'm seeing, called his girlfriend and they talked and she said, hey, how would it if Ryno came out and saw Mike? And she just said, oh my God, that would be amazing because nobody comes and sees him anymore. The team went there for maybe 2 days and that was it. And they live in the same town. None of the riders really come. The family came and kind of did them dirty, and he says we're just alone now. So I said, boom, I booked a ticket that day, and I said, oh, but don't tell him. I want it to be a surprise, so then maybe there's some joy that comes out of him. So they were going to the airport. They knew they were going to go and pick somebody up, and I guess Brownie just named every single person in the industry of what it could be, but never named me. And then he shows up at the airport and he sees me and he's like, what, Ryno? And we hugged it out, and I saw a little tear come out his eye, and then you know
Yeah.
we connected, and that's where he's having a little bit of a struggle, like, well, what do I do next? And that's going back to our conversation, is like, you can't let that inner fire, that inner that light dim. You know what I mean? They go away. Just have to redirect it. And so, I've redirected it in stuff that, yeah, it's definitely not as exciting, yoga, hiking, just kind of just trying to be more at peace here because, yeah, it's been a struggle for me, man. It's been a big struggle trying to find something to replace riding a motorcycle. And it's so obvious because even yesterday somebody says, told me, hey man, I have a bike. You want to go out to Kauai? And I live like 10 minutes from there. I'm like, okay. And I've only ridden probably twice and 3 times in like
Yeah.
two
Was that where
years,
you met Langston? Because I did see something on your social
Yeah, I
media.
did. I saw, yeah, Langston did that the beginning of the week, and then someone else did that this weekend. And I'm like, oh shit, man, only 10 minutes away. But when I
Yeah.
got done, I was telling Janelle, I'm like, that's what I miss, kind of like, I know I can't go do it, but just the day was complete. The day was complete after I rode.
Mhm.
I was kind of worn out. There was something exciting, something challenged me. There was an accomplishment feeling, and I'm like, yeah, now I can just kind of go home and just relax. But when you don't have that, it's almost like you're searching for that accomplishment, you're searching for that excitement, you're searching for that challenge. And then we start to go down roads that that aren't really the best for us. But I think that's just at a time that you're in a search. And everybody's going to be in a search a little bit. Everybody's going to be walking around with blinders on, so to speak, until you find that path. But yeah, I mean, that's the hardest thing in the world to me, for anybody that's been successful, or even a mother or a father. You know what I mean? Like when like when they've accomplished enough, or their kids move out, even a mother that she's not the mother anymore, nobody to take care of. So everybody has to fall from grace at some point. And the guys that are at the highest have to fall from grace the most, because you know their recognitions and what they can give back is only if someone comes to their house and goes to that trophy room and sees those number one plates or whatever hanging on the wall, right? So to me, it's like, okay, you go through all this stuff, all these challenges, this was, now what can you give back? What can you give back? Life has given you all this. Now it's your turn to give back. And that's where, you know, I feel, very blessed that, yeah, I didn't win the championships and this and that, or get to the, be as successful as I thought I should be. But what I've given back to the sport, whatever anybody wants to say, has been, I think, pretty profound by, um, just the
Mhm.
ability to share. And I love to share. If you share, you care. If you care, you share. Right. So,
Yeah. Because one could argue, again, this arbitrary fake word success, right? Because it's truthfully different to everyone. Someone could argue that you've been more successful since your pro career ended, just with how many people you've been able to touch. And like
yeah.
I know damn well, like this whole stupid YouTube crap, um, I've touched more people doing that than I ever could have dreamed of actually writing,
Yeah.
which is kind of a funny full circle on stuff. And what you're talking about with Mike Brown, I mean, dude, that dude, I've talked with my wife about it. Because I've been wondering how well he's doing because of the fact I'm like, dude, this is like the number one guy that has been a top factory guy that's getting paid to race for 50 years. So there's like
Mhm.
nothing, that's his entire life. Where there's some
Yeah.
guys that do it for 20 years or so, and then it just seems more profound because he's been the one guy that has continued to um, still have like a factory ride, not hanging up the
Yeah.
boots. Sorry,
Yeah, and
I'm
that's the thing is,
digressing.
he told me, he goes, man, I should have quit three times ago, so to speak. Like, he's had some big crashes, and he's like, all right, I'm done. Okay, I got to stop. And to me, like I told him, I said, well, maybe life wants a different side of Mike Brown to come out. Maybe a little bit more of a gentle side, maybe a little bit more of a sharing side, not such a competitive, have to beat everybody, have to, show everybody. And so, just like you have kids, and life is kind of like a parent to me, and in life, God, whatever, doesn't have a voice. It speaks in situations. That's his communication. you know in situations where you have to go, huh, ponder on it. You're not gonna hear something. So let's say your kid pissed in the corner, you'd be like, hey, dude, you know all of a sudden, next day you look over and he's pissing in the corner again. You're like, bro, hey, give him a little smack. And then next day he's pissing in the corner again. You kind of pull him, go, dude, if you do that again, I'm gonna whoop your ass, right? The next day he pisses in the corner again. Then you smack him. Well, that's what life is like. Little things, little things. Oh, you're not gonna listen to me? Oh, you're not gonna
Yeah,
listen. All right. Well, I'm gonna make you listen to me. And that's just the only thing that have felt in my life. That things just kind of got bigger and bigger when I didn't listen to the first initial message of like, hey, it's time to stop. And just like you're able to give so much back to people, well, there's a certain type of person that doesn't know how to give back. They only know how to take. So there's a lot of champions in this sport that still are just taking from the sport. They're not really giving anything back. You know what I mean? And so I would much rather be able to give so much back to people and make a difference in all these people than to feel feel like I'm somebody, but they have to come to my house, go into my trophy room, and look at my number one place that probably have dust on them, right?
mhm,
So, right, so for me, being able to share so much and give back to the sport is much more rewarding. Just like when I saw Brownie, when I came home, I just felt full of life. I felt full of energy, and that was so much more rewarding than if I came out of there with a $20,000 check, right? Because it's
mhm.
fictitious. You get that and you put it into the bank, and you didn't really put money in the bank. You put numbers in the bank. So there's not much substance in it. And so that's kind of like the deal is making sure that you have that simplicity of not always being in that mindset of taking, because giving is very powerful, very powerful. Like, we don't people don't know how to give time. Let's say I said, hey man, my buddy's hurt, can you donate? You'd be like, yeah, 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 give me my phone, boop, send, done. Never even thought
Mhm.
about it. But how many people can give their time to people? you know that is what's truly important, and that's what people truly need, is maybe somebody's time.